everybody, welcome back to our lessons on half double crochets. So this was the swatch that we were last working on, where at the end of each row we chained 2 and then we did our half double crochet into not the first stitch but the second stitch, as the chain was counted as the first half double crochet. The second method I've got to show you, and it's the one that I prefer, is very similar. So the stitch doesn't change, the half double crochet is still exactly the same, where we yarn over before we start the stitch and then we insert the hook, yarn over, pull through, and yarn over and pull through all 3 loops that are on your hook. So that doesn't change. But what does change is once you've turned your work, I only chain 1, and this chain this time does not count as your first stitch, and instead we do this first half double crochet into the first stitch. So we yarn over before we start the stitch, we insert our hook, yarn over, pull through. We now have 1, 2, 3 loops on our hook, and we pull through all 3. I'm going to just show that a bit closer. Yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Just going to let you watch me do it all the way to the end. I'm going to count as I go because that makes it easier. So I've just done 1, 2, 3, I'm switching 13, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 13, which is like on the single crochet, it's this last little V on the end here. And by counting as you go along, you do know that you still need to find that V that's hiding at the end there. And then I can double check that I've still got the 13 that I need by checking with, as I said in the previous video, checking with half double crochets is a lot easier because they're taller and there's a bit of space in between them. So you can just count like so: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And in this method we do not count our chain, so we just count in the half double crochets. So again, I do find it a bit easier for counting how many stitches you're up to, rather than having to remember to count that first chain. And then we turn our work and we just do the 1 chain, turning chain, and go straight back into this first stitch. And I find that when you do this method, you end up with much neater edges. It's much straighter compared to this method, where I find that you end up with these big gaps at the side as your chains are a bit looser and you've moved your next stitch in a bit. So it's up to you which way you want to do it. I think I would suggest this one, but this is what a lot of other lessons will teach you. So you experiment and see how you go with that. So I'm going to suggest that you take some time to practice making a swatch. So I'm just going to start from this first turn, from the first foundation chain now, to show you how you get going with this stitch from the off. She says, maybe I should have untangled all of this yarn first. I don't really know why I'm out of breath. It's been one of those days. I feel like I'm just a bit manic today. We shall see. Hopefully a good night's sleep will sort it all out. Right, I found it. So just to recap, when we are casting on, you take the end of the yarn over the top, we push the attached part up to our finger and pinch, yarn over. Oh, I almost started singing to you then. Insert your hook and pull tight. Tighten up your slip knot. Great. Now we're going to chain 15 if you're going to make a swatch this size. So I'm going to chain 15. So let's start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Remember to keep moving your fingers up as you go. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now there is a key difference here between single crochet and half double crochet. With a single crochet, you remember we didn't start in the chain that the yarn's coming out of, the yarn that's on your hook. We started in the second chain from hook, it was called. With half double crochet, we start in the third chain from hook, and that is again because these stitches are taller. It allows that space for the turning chain at the beginning, really. So not into the first chain, which is the one that the yarn's coming through, not into the second chain from hook, which is the one that we use for single crochet, but into the third chain, and we're going into the top of that V just there. And I'm going to start in exactly the same way as your other half double crochets. You yarn over before we start the stitch, then not the first, not the second, into that third chain there, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook, and again yarn over and insert into the next hook, just moving your fingers and thumb down to keep it pinched so you're not getting too big a spread on your chains, and you just carry that on all the way to the end. Oops. And this always does look a bit more messy than your other rows because you are only going into that one part of the chain. You should find it much easier when you get to your second row and you're going into the bulk of the stitch instead. Just continuing to the end. And remember, because we started with 15, a chain of 15, but we didn't go into the first stitch and we didn't go into the second stitch, you should then have 15 minus 2, which is 13. A little bit of COVID maths for you there to keep your brain going. And I'm going to go for the chain 1 and turn method, or turn and chain 1, it doesn't really make a difference. And then we yarn over, and I prefer to start in that first hook, first stitch, insert, yarn over again and pull through, and then there's our first stitch of that row. I hope that made some sense for you all. I'd suggest you make a nice square again to get some practice in for making your swatches, and once you've mastered this stitch, I will bring in a project later on in the week, probably in time for Saturday, so you've got something to be working on over the weekend, and we will work on these glasses cases and our phone cases. And then next week we will move on to working in the round. Crazy, all sorts of new things can happen when you start working in a circle. So without further ado, that is the end of our lesson. It's been lovely to see you all again, even though I'm not really seeing you, but it's just nice to feel like I'm in contact with you all. Hope you're staying safe, staying at home, and enjoying some of this sunshine. Don't get burnt. I did today. Oops. I shouldn't do these at night. I'm going a bit crazy. Okay, happy hooking everyone. Enjoy crochet through Corona, and speak to you soon.